On the agenda is going to be the Pledge of Allegiance. Jeff, will you lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session that we had at 5 o'clock this afternoon. With no
time frame.
time frame. Yeah, thank you.
Is there a second?
Oh, indefinitely.
Indefinite, lots of fancy word.
Seconded by Les. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions? 4-0. Minutes?
Make a motion to accept the non-public and public meeting minutes of November 17th, 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Anita. Any comments or questions on the minutes?
Nope.
Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions? That is also 4-0. Consent agenda.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda for December 1st, 2022. Accounts payable payment manifest dated 12/1/22. Payroll manifest dated 11/23/22. Distribution of funds from the Recreation Patriotic Fund in the amount of $1,121.50. Distribution of funds from the Police Capital Reserve Fund in the amount of $400. Administrative abatement from map lot number 114-192 in the amount of $577.60. Administration abatement for map lot number 220-0118 in the amount of $819.80. Administrative abatement for map lot number 220-015-078 in the amount of $52.22. Appointment of Barbara Dietrich to the Sustainability Committee. Appointment of Jeremy Littlefield to the Sustainability Committee. Timber intent number 22-0259-06-T for map lot number 217-140.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Carol. Any item anybody wishes to remove from the consent agenda? Or any comments, questions? Great. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions? 4-0. Thank you. It's housekeeping. Solar exemption.
I just emailed Bobby because he's
Okay.
not here, so I don't want to.
All right, we'll table that for now.
Yep.
And the appeal of the Carroll Court condominium water billing.
That would be me.
Okay, great. You want to have a seat?
Sure.
That should be in your packets as well under the number 6. All 3 of those are the there's an email with the email from Mr. Herbert. Sorry, Hebert. I always want to call him Herbert because of Cheryl. So Mr. Hebert sent the email in, Jeff's response to the first request, and now he's appealing that. Those are under number 6.
Okay. Yep, go ahead.
All right, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I think probably the best thing to do is give you a little bit of history. I don't know how much you actually have at this point. My name is Norm Hebert. I'm the president of the Carroll Court Condo Association. First bought in there in 2017. We had one paying owner, who was me. Did a lot of work over the last 5 years. We're now to the point we've got 13 paying owners. When I first got there, or originally when the building, prior to probably 2014 or so, there was one meter that fed the whole building.
Right.
And it did hot water, it did cold water, it was basically one water bill. When the several owners that were in there, when the place kind of went defunct, they were actually, the water got shut off because the association was defunct, obviously, and nobody could pay the bill. Some of the residents were getting quite creative. They were hauling in, 5-gallon jugs of water. As I understand it, they were squatting on 5-gallon joint compound buckets. It became very unsanitary. So the town and the water department allowed 3 units to put in their own individual water services and water meters. So when I get involved around 2017 or so, I asked about restoring, one central, water system for the whole building. And Jeff and I think the selectmen kind of backed him up, said, no, we're down this path now where we're, doing individual meters, and we like to kind of keep on. And you gave us a deal to kind of convert the units as they were brought back into good standing with water meters, and we've done that. What we never realized, however, was that, and the way that we are set up now, the way that we have been for the last few years, is every unit owner gets their own water bill for their unit, and then we have this one house meter. And the house meter basically takes care of all the hot water for the entire building. So the situation, I don't know if you guys get a chance to take a look at the bills that I sent in with the letter, but the issue now is that we get 500 cubic feet per quarter per unit. And most of the units are running between 125 and I think 388 was the high one, but 200, 250 cubic feet. But they're only using cold water. Our house meter at the same time now is using 3,000 cubic feet because we're doing hot water for the entire building. And obviously the excess water charges for the difference between the 500 and the 3,000 that we're using are really the non-used hot water charges or hot water, the would-be usage on the individual units if they were making their own hot water and it wasn't on a central system. So on one hand, the individual unit owners are underusing the utilization. On the other hand, the common meter for the association is way over-utilizing the utilization, and we're ending up with huge water bills for the hot water, basically the common area, which I would say 90% does hot water. We do have a laundry room now, so a little bit of cold water is going in there, but it's basically the hot water for the entire building. So as a matter of equity, I was looking for some kind of a credit. I mean, maybe it wouldn't have to be the whole 3,000. And the other thing is now we're only got 12 or 13 paying units. We get a couple more units that are coming on. So that means that our, common hot water bill for the house meters kind of even gonna get higher. So I can imagine we might be up to 4,000 cubic feet on the house meter at some point in the future.
And give you a little more background too. So before Norm became the president, or I called him Norm instead of Mr.
That's right, that's fine.
Before he became the president, they did have a majority. There was 3 units, I believe, that people lived there and owned the unit full time, and the rest of them were rental units at the time. They were occupied, and the water got shut off to the building because I believe at the time it was a $17,000 water bill, roughly.
Yeah,
right,
They
Jeff?
got up there pretty high.
So the tenants were evicted. They had to leave because there was no water. The 3 remaining units, 1 did haul by buckets, and 2 installed their own water heaters and lines at their cost to be able to hook up their water directly. And at the time, we checked with the town's attorney, and the attorney said that was sufficient because it was a defunct condo association at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Also at the time, the town made a decision that any units that went back in there at the time were gonna have to do the same thing, their own water heater and their own meter and hook up. When we met with Norm, we tried to work something out that was a little bit more agreeable or easier, because hooking up their own unit, the water heater for every unit was a little bit more expensive than, and we tried to cut a deal, and so
Yeah.
Norms had at that time decided, we'll do 1 meter for the hot water, the boiler, the common area, and the town agreed to that, but every unit had to be individually metered or they wouldn't be turned back on, other than that.
And we did pay the backwater bill too.
And they, yeah,
And
they
we did pay the backwater
back.
bill, so.
So that's how the practice has been going forward, and I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Jeff?
No, sounds
No, okay.
between.
I guess I'm a little bit confused when we're talking about hot water and cold water. The town supplies cold water. I
Right.
mean, water.
Right, yeah,
Right?
no.
And so all the water that goes to that building goes through a common meter?
There's a common meter, yes.
What we
Common
call
meter
a
is-
house meter.
There is individual meters for each one of the units that have bought into the system. I think there's actually 3 that do have a water
3,
meter.
yeah.
And the rest, since Norm started, are fed through that water heater for their hot water supply. But it's a common meter. It's not uncommon to have these common meters.
Right.
There's a lot
So-
of condo associations that have them. They get a minimum charge.
Yeah.
If they don't use the minimum allowance, it's not credited to other people that have meters. in
Okay, so I guess that's
association.
where my understanding was lacking. So based on the potential to use water in that building, you have basically a minimum allowance?
There's a minimum allowance of 500 cubic feet or, yeah, it's about 3,500 gallons. So, and then there's an overage charge, it's $2.90 for every 750 gallons or 100 cubic feet, so.
Okay, and Mr. Hebert, what you're asking is you're not using the minimum,
On any of the units, right.
or each unit has a minimum?
Each unit gets 500 cubic feet and the house meter gets 500 cubic
But
feet.
there's, excuse me, Sean, there's only 3 units operating, so only 3 have.
Oh, no,
No.
Only
there's
3 have their
13.
own meter.
13 have their own meter,
Oh.
plus the
okay.
house meter.
Only
So
3 have
let
a
me-
hot water heater.
Got it.
Yes, only
Got it.
3 have a hot water. So when this started, there were people living there. That was their only place to live. The rentals, they were evicted.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't rent them anymore. So the 4 that were living there, 4 that were living there, one did buckets and we worked with him and said we didn't think that was the appropriate way to do it. And then the other 3 installed their own hot water heaters and were individually metered. And that was that way for about a year or 2 before, about a year. About a year before Norm
printed
came
out
in.
the history.
So about a year before Norm came in, those 3 units paid their water bill. They had their hot water all included, all metered, and they paid their water bill. And Norm came in and he became the president of the association, and that's when we tried to work out a better, some kind of solution. Because at the time, originally, we said, no, you have to individually meter and hot water every unit.
Yeah.
And then, so we worked out a resolution where we are to individually meter every unit, but you could do a common meter if that's, for your hot water system, if that's what you want to do.
So you have a boiler that
We have 2
provides
Renai units that do the hot water for all the basic.
for everyone except those 3 units that are here.
Yeah, and one of those units is coming back onto the boiler too. They don't want to be buying electricity, so
Yeah.
they want to, and they're paying it in the condo fee, so that's, eventually I suspect, I've got one woman who doesn't want to come on because she wants instant hot water, and if it has to come from the basement, it takes 2 minutes for the hot water to come. So she's kind of spoiled with her own hot water heater, doesn't mind paying. But a couple of the other units are probably going to be coming on. Sorry, go ahead.
So no, my fault. It's not just hot water though. The ones that don't have their own feed, it's all of their water.
No.
No, it's the opposite. It's the opposite.
Hot
So
water
how are the
system.
people that don't have their own feed, if you're only giving them hot water, where are they getting cold water?
No,
They have
they
their
get
own
cold
meter.
water through their meter that they're purchasing.
That house meter.
The
No,
house
there's
meter
13
supplying them with
individual
the hot.
meters plus
There's
one house
13
meter.
meters there.
Yeah.
As they came
Is that what it
back,
is?
Yeah.
Got it.
so Carol, as they came back on,
Continue.
It's not an ideal situation.
as
I'll
they
catch up
came,
to you.
as they came back on, as they were allowed to renovate and come back on, and they were, had to individually meter
Got
those
it,
units
okay.
before they could
Thank you.
go through, so.
Are they, and this is not, are all of the people in there owners now?
No.
No.
There's a mix. I would say there's 3 owners and 10 rental units.
So this might be a stupid question, but why wouldn't you be able to pass that fee on to your renters and their rental fee? Whatever the cost is to do this.
Well, it would be passed on, or it is passed on now, to the association.
The condo fees?
And it gets reflected in the condo fee, and then, you know, obviously the condo fee is one of the expenses that have to be
Yeah.
kind of rolled into the, you know, the rental remuneration. But, you know, the issue basically is that we've got all of these units that have 500 cubic feet of allocation, and they're only using a small amount, maybe 200 of that 500, and then the other house meter is got 500 and it's using 3,500 because, you know, it's doing the hot water for all the other units. So it's racking up lots of overage fees.
Go ahead.
But everyone that's on the water has that situation.
Correct.
You have a minimum charge whether you use 500 or 100. True?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's not-
And we don't credit the next quarter if you don't use that.
Yeah.
And I think an allowance something like this would create that problem.
Right. That's
For
what
the entire system.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Is there any reason to look at bumping up that minimum on when we know that, I mean, you're exceeding that? When you look at the size of the building, I guess, is my
Part of
thought.
this agreement is that common meter used to be all 15 units on it.
Right.
As they went individual, we started
Right,
pulling
right.
them off, and then we finally agreed that that would just be 1 unit charge. If they wanted to have multiple units on there, we'd have multiple minimum charges, but then that would defeat the
Right.
savings.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
Maybe this is a question I should have asked Jeff before we come to this meeting, but is there any technical way that we can feed some of that water going into those individual units into the common system?
You don't care where it goes after it passes your meter. Right?
Yeah.
Well, no, our agreement is they gotta be individually metered, so if we
Right.
somehow hook them in without permission, then,
No, I'm saying after the town meter, they
yeah.
can plumb it wherever they want to. True?
Yeah. I mean,
So after that individual meter, you could plumb it back to your heating.
Well, that would
Right.
definitely potentially be a solution, but that would be breaking the agreement that we had. That we
yeah,
had.
you need at least all units being, all 15 units tied in to their own meters, because
Right, I understand that,
I
yeah.
think if you were to feed, I don't know, I think it's getting way too complicated.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But
I think either they should have been all individually metered
what I'm thinking is, if
or all under one master meter.
Right.
Instead of trying to blend the system and do the math and try to figure out who loads. It's just, it's crazy.
And the reason it was done was before Norm, it was a defunct condo association,
Right.
no one was paying.
Right.
The building wasn't being taken care of, we had fire alarm issues there, we had a lot more
Yeah.
going on there, so, and.
It's not common, is it, to have the building supply the hot water? I
No,
mean, usually you'd have that in each individual unit,
well,
right?
that's what we required originally,
For anybody to live there,
right?
right?
That's what we originally required,
Yeah.
and I think that in hindsight, we probably shouldn't have switched it for Norm, but we were trying to help.
Trying to make everything work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It-
So I think we need to, talk a little bit about the history and the, precedent and all of that, and, I don't believe we're gonna have a decision for you tonight.
No,
but
that's fine.
I think it is a conversation worth having, because I think, you know, we wanna work with folks, but at the same time, we want things to be right across the board if at all possible.
So if I can kind of reach back into the Wayback Machine and ask Jeff, many years ago when there was only one water service and one meter, were there excess water charges at that point too, or did that, 500 cubic feet come in later, or?
The master meter, or the common meter now that you're using it as,
Yeah.
that used to be right around 25,000 cubic feet, so 3,000 is very small usage through that master meter compared to what it used to be when
Right,
all
sure.
15
Yeah.
units were on it, so.
Yeah.
So I think your usage, even individually metered,
Mhm.
I think it's better than it used to be.
Yeah, but before, all you had was the excess water fees. Now you get an individual, meter.
We still
fee.
had 15 unit charges on it, so.
Oh, you still had 50?
Yeah, you would have 15 minimum charges applied to that one master meter. Now, what we.
Because of the number of units.
Each person is responsible for their minimum charge.
Is that how you do it, like with the cottage colonies at the lake, same thing?
Same thing, so,
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know that. Anyway.
If they're not individually metered, if
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
through a master meter, whether it's an apartment or a condominium association. Freudenberg counts as 450 units minimum charges that they get. It's one industry, but
Right. Okay.
Sure.
We're gonna have a conversation with
I'm learning.
Yeah,
I'm learning.
and I can appreciate that. I will say that I can appreciate your direction on that building and kind of getting that.
Yeah, we've
Back
had a lot
up.
of challenges, but
Yeah.
we're getting there. We are definitely
The
getting
town
there.
appreciates it. I
Yeah.
know where you started from, and it's good to see. It's
You
good
can
to
talk
see.
to our neighbor at 40 Beach, but we'll leave that for a different night.
But it is good to see an active association. So.
Okay, thank you guys, I appreciate the consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great holiday.
Yeah.
You too.
You too.
Bye.
Can you state when they talk about the preliminary warrant articles, because there's something on there, I don't know what it is, and you might be able to answer.
yeah, sure.
Okay.
I emailed Paul Loomis, but but I haven't heard back from him.
Okay.
yet. You have this one?
Don't. No.
Okay.
It's okay.
No, we're okay.
Okay, yeah, so we'll go to, what was your item on the draft warrant that you wanted, Jeff?
So the draft warrant is under number, can't read the section, 8 on your thing, on your folders. So this, Nick had started this warrant, so I didn't recreate the wheel yet, but I have some suggestions on
Yep.
it. Obviously, the Article 1 and the zoning, I'll take care of those, and the budget would be taken care of. $25,000, this is preliminary discussion.
Yep.
So $25,000 contingency, I would recommend still keep that.
Yep.
And the next one down, I highlighted blue because I don't have an answer if we're going to do this or not, so I think we have to get an answer on
I
fireworks.
think the answer is no,
No,
this coming
but-
year, right? I mean, that's.
So
I
I
started
think,
thinking about it the other day and thinking, should we be reaching out to another company to see what it would cost to put a show on the way it needs to be done now?
we can reach out to Atlas, we knew they
Yeah.
used to do the
I
shows.
bet you
They were
people would
very
say yes to
expensive.
that.
I think it would be worth
Yeah.
reaching
Let's
out.
do that. Yep.
It may be,
At least we can,
that's a bigger
let's
number.
just go through the effort.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Um,
Yeah, definitely. So, because what was, but I thought they weren't gonna let us do it from a barge.
The people can't be on the barge. is
Oh, so
my
it's gotta be
So-
electronic.
So
and-
Atlas has their own electronic
Right.
shooting, so they would shoot from the
Remote.
They don't
boat.
shoot on the barge.
But
Right.
our current fireworks provider has to light them off
Right.
on the barge.
So that's what they're getting rid of.
What's wrong with that?
Plenty of water, right? Yes.
You have to
I I think you had somebody almost do that one year.
I was gonna say, probably wouldn't be the first time either. Okay, yeah, let's
Okay.
inquire. Thank you.
So the next two in green, I am recommending to get rid of. I don't see a need to do this right now, it's not
Okay.
the right time. Granted, the town car needs work each year and it's starting to get worse each year, but I just don't think this is the time to do this right now, so.
Is it, yep, go ahead.
Would it be worth just rehashing a tiny bit of the budget committee conversation before you?
I
go
put
down
that
this
under
list?
TA and select board,
Okay, okay.
but the one, I guess we can just skip ahead and talk about Jeff's
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah.
The very bottom, I don't know if you wanna see this copy, Jeff, here. Sorry. This one here is, I have no idea what this is. So I was hoping that someone else would before I highlighted it blue because I don't know whether to take it off, it was on there or not.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, this needs to happen,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So, that's right, you wouldn't
Yeah,
know about this.
right.
So historically, there have been more than one project, right?
Right, yeah, I think it's, I don't know if they're listed or not.
Yeah, right. So there were projects that were done.
Well, Bob didn't know what miscellaneous one was either,
Okay.
so.
There were projects that were done under water and sewer. And everything was paid for, all the reimbursements happened. This is a issue with our audit.
Oh, okay.
So I can't remember exactly what happened. Either the money came to the general fund or the money came from the general fund and went to water and sewer and didn't get put back into.
This looks like it should go back to these funds, so it must be sitting somewhere and we
I
never
think
paid it.
I think water and sewer paid it
Okay, and we never paid them.
and we never paid them.
Water and sewer needs to be reimbursed.
Right, so it's,
Yeah,
Is that what you think?
I think what had happened is all projects got dumped into one bucket
Okay.
years
Right.
ago, and then it was taken, when it was separated out because it had water on it or sewer on it, they assumed it was our responsibility, so they tried to get the money from the capital reserve. But it was actually warrant articles from the downtown project and the.
where the money was supposed
And it
to,
was
certain
supposed to
amount
come
was
through
supposed to come from
taxation.
town.
Yeah,
And
and that didn't happen, so.
Right.
We're just trying to, that's when it's.
And-
these
And
problems.
so we decided that we would do this yearly to spread out the large cost to the town.
So this may have to be done more than 1 year in a row?
I think we did it last year.
I think this is the first year of
This is the
five.
first year. I
Oh,
think.
okay, yeah.
Because I don't remember seeing it last year, that's why.
Because it was a big number, we didn't want to go for it all at
Right.
once. Yeah,
No.
So the warrant article should say first of five, I
Oh,
mean,
it says replenishment of 1/5 of the funds.
Okay, 1/5,
Okay, so
there
it
you
does
go.
say 1/5.
Yeah,
So
alright.
for the next 5 years, this is going to have
Yep.
to be on the warrant
Okay.
article, okay?
And that's-
Yeah, that's not clear though.
I'll check.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll take care of the wording.
So the wording gets, I'll put it into the portal and the DRA will provide feedback on
Yeah,
that and
sorry,
correct it
I'm
for
not new
you,
here.
so, but,
okay, that makes sense, all right.
okay, that's the only one I wanted to keep Jeff for.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we can come back to this after or skip around, whichever.
Well, we're here, we might as well.
Okay, so.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
Do you need a training?
Hang if you want.
Thank
They're usually a lot of fun, but.
Yeah.
He likes non-public.
I'll get there earlier next one.
See ya.
See you guys.
So, bye now.
We never see Jeff in non-public.
Want to make it happen?
No. Give us,
You just.
give us 90 days.
Yeah, boy.
Ah, now we know why it
Okay, so
happens
going
in
back to
Milwaukee.
the green, so going back to the green, I think the suggestion had been originally last year from the budget committee that the town look into purchasing actual town car, so it could be used for other things. I don't think it's the right time. for-
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And I don't think we need to establish a vehicle maintenance fund then if we're not gonna purchase a car, so.
No.
So I would recommend those come off. The next one we have matched back is the capital reserve funds. We have matched back what's in the budget currently, and I believe, and if I remember correctly, Bob matched them to the CIP plan. For just these. I didn't compare to see if there were other things in CIP that we needed to bring in here, or if there's any.
I would want Don's input on this, because
Yeah.
I know that we've used his
Don't look at that
recommendations over the last couple of, and I know we've tweaked them here and there as, what's that?
I told him not to look at that CIP plan, that's the wrong one, remember?
What year were we on?
Yeah, stop.
And I know that we've tweaked them, you know,
Which
depending on what we, yeah,
These are the tweak numbers so far, for
Okay.
CIP. The assessment reval is the tweak, isn't in the CIP, but we tweaked that because
Right.
it is depleted.
yeah,
So,
right,
and then the bottom numbers, the fire equipment wasn't tweaked by CIP, highway was tweaked, police vehicle was tweaked, and the town building, is the same number that's in CIP, but that's something for you to think about if you wanna go forward with this. You may wanna bring part of that conversation up from budget during this, since we're in the preliminary discussion about draft warrant articles.
Yeah.
So, but, I can explain the rest and then we can talk about that comment from. The next one is the police details revolving fund. I talked to Bob about this and it's a small percentage now and it's not helping. And so the recommendation, and Bob is saying that this needs to happen because it's not covering things, it's
Right.
just to move this to 100%.
yeah, I agree.
The one that's only 2 words, veterans credit, we've just found out that the state has changed. Governor Sununu signed into a new law that changed, and then eligibility criteria for veterans. So, it became effective July 26th. We have to re-adopt everything on veterans, so I'll get the correct wording in there, or it reverts to $50 next year. So, we'll confirm and we'll get that fixed, that's why that's in there. And then the next one at the top of the next page is establish a highway project capital reserve fund. And that was, Dawn wanted to do the highway projects. When we talked about Danforth Brook,
Right,
Culvert, and so I threw it in there for a discussion. So,
okay,
and then the article, last one will be in there in the next 5 years. The only things, we meet with the department heads next week, we'll just make sure that there's nothing else that they had any interest in adding, which I don't believe there is.
there isn't,
I know, and then, I just lost my thought.
sorry,
Oh, and whether you support the solar exemption.
yeah,
And then the only other thing I will put out there is in the town TA report, and I can talk to you about that when we get there,
Okay.
on the community gardens. So, I found out something else today from them, and I just wanna put something out there for you to consider, so.
Okay. Next week?
Next week is department head meeting, not you.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, Carol. Department head meeting will cover a lot of stuff next week, and we'll be coming back to you to try and get it all done in the 15th,
okay,
if we need to, so.
all right, very good. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Anything that jumps out at you besides the green ones that we should take out?
So when the budget committee's looking at the budget, are they including, and they're saying that they wanna cut it 2% out of it?
This
No,
isn't even
this
in-
would be
They're
separate of
not
that.
looking at the warrant.
Well, they will, but that's
But they
not,
haven't yet.
yeah,
No.
Okay, so they're just talking the general budget.
They need to comment on.
No comment, yeah.
Yeah.
So they haven't even taken this into consideration. However, when I was trying to present the wrong CIP plan the other night, it came up that there is a message that certain individuals want sent to the select board about, they feel that the budget, this individual felt the budget was not in a bad place, there were some things that could be cut. But that people's pays hadn't changed and that they want to send the select board a clear message and vote against CIP. We did explain the CIP as a plan only, but it's the warrant articles, they want to send a message to you that they don't want to see a lot of warrant articles.
And am I allowed to say names here? It was, it's
It was
a public
It
meeting.
is public
Yeah.
meeting that they said it in, so.
So it was Walter, and he was very sincere in what he said.
Oh, yeah.
He said, I voted for all the people in the select board because I trusted them to do the
Yeah,
best
he's very good.
for the people in the community. Stop me if I'm translating wrong.
No, you did perfect.
And it was kind of about the COP piece, because that's, when you look at that, even though it was the wrong document, it's a lot of money spread over time. But he was saying, can't the select board do something for us to maybe cut $100,000?
Don't
Am I
support
still
the-
about right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was, I think the document looks like a lot of money in it, obviously, but we explained that this isn't set in stone, this is just a suggestion for the board. The message he really wanted to say was he doesn't want the board to take that document fully into consideration and follow it. Do we need to replace a vehicle every year?
And even after you explained that to him, he was equally as adamant
Yeah,
still.
yeah.
And that was the one thing that got his attention. And then they had the conversation again. Charlie was back, he wasn't here last meeting. He wanted to go with the 5% number. And I challenged him, of course, because that's what I do, but whether he wanted 5.2 or 4.9 or why he came up with that number, which is fine. And then we spent a lot.
And they're looking at the total general fund and debt service, which is approximately 7% right now in price. And they would like to get it down to the 5% increase. They are not as a group, or do they agree that that's the number, but they will do their due diligence there were comments made by other people that we've asked for too much. So, and then I think we covered all of that conversation for the most part, that part of the budget committee, but.
Yeah. But they were working diligently on some individual line items. There was some good conversation about if we're building a building, this was a really good conversation. There's a line item for building maintenance for the police station. If we're gonna tear it down, do we need to have building maintenance? Or if we're gonna tear it, or we're gonna tear it down, why do we need the electricity line? There was a big conversation about, shouldn't the contractor be paying for the electricity during construction? And they're gonna, the chiefs are gonna check on the contract and see if that's true. So, but they were very specific,
In the end.
down to this small line of $1,500, you know. And there was a big conversation about moving all
About
the forestry
forestry.
stuff into the fire lines. Getting rid of the forestry line items and just putting them in the fire department, spreading them throughout.
I've been saying for 25 years it shouldn't be called forestry, but that's okay.
Well, and the chief is gonna double check, the
Yeah.
only concern we have with the cutting it completely is he gets grants and
Right,
under forestry. So if you don't have a forestry budget,
Right,
will that affect you getting grants or not? Hope, if it doesn't, then great, we can move it all over.
It's a little bit of a kind of rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
Yeah.
In the end,
What did Harold call it, shuffling,
Shell
shell
game.
game?
yeah, I mean, in the end, the owner pays anyways. And-
Right.
And so,
Walter.
if you're building a house, you're gonna pay for that electricity.
Yeah, whether you
Because
think
it's,
that's
yeah,
true. Yeah.
whether you're on the account number or not.
Right,
Right, well, the argument was, isn't that already included in the 5 million that they're gonna pay for the electricity during construction?
and we don't know that answer, so we are gonna check. We don't know if we're gonna put a temporary electric thing in and we're
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
get the bills
Yeah.
for it or not. We don't know, so we're gonna check with Bruin.
But the
I
same-
guarantee you, they're not building electricity into their budget.
I'm sure they
No.
don't, no, that's what the
Yeah,
chief said.
they cut the electricity by half, but they're willing to consider it if we find out that we have to put in a temporary panel that we're going to pay for, which is probably similar to what we have at the beach,
Right.
so,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
But, so, that's the warrant articles for now, unless department heads do something large coming in, or you have something coming in. But I don't anticipate anything else, knock on wood. Unless I find some other RSA just passed, and like the veterans that we'll put on there, I just wanna make sure. Yep, okay. So that's the draft warrant article
So-
discussion.
Is this a point where we could talk about what we want to think about warrant articles, or are we not there yet?
Yeah.
I put this on your next, I'm putting it on your next agenda too, because I was hoping
Yeah,
we
because,
finalize
right, there'll be
early.
more information as we go along, so
Yeah.
there'll be more to talk. But do you have a thought for a different warrant article
Well-
or something that's on there?
I'm not even sure if it is, so. I know that I have my opinions about what the town should be doing. Should we be trying to push workforce housing? Should we be trying to, in the warrant article about the solar panels, should we be trying to incentivize our citizens to get solar panels? Because if you take that back another step, we're incentivizing people not to use carbon. That's the whole conversation. So I say no, but what do the taxpayers want us to do? Should we be asking them some of these global questions about where should we be going, or do they just trust us to make that decision? And I'm not even,
Yeah.
I haven't even couched that in a paragraph yet, but should we be saying,
Yeah, yeah.
do the taxpayers want to pursue a carbon reduction agenda for Bristol?
Can all of them pay for it,
Right.
Right.
even though they can't do it?
Right.
Well,
Well, no,
so-
I mean, as a general conversation, so
Right.
does that mean we're okay with saying we want to fund an electric car charging station? We want to give tax credits to solar panels, all of these things that are, and they're going to be continuing to come at us. Is that our decision, or should we throw it out to the citizenry? So just think about it.
Yeah,
So,
I would say a couple of things. In the end, they have final decision, especially if it's a warrant article.
Right.
They may not want to reelect us and go a different direction. They have a decision there.
Fair, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right, yeah, sure.
If we don't do, say, a warrant article for the solar exemption, it can be put forward as a petition article and yayed or nayed,
Right.
based on that. So, I think in the end, they have the decision. I have some similar thoughts to you, Carol, on whether that's our place or not, and whether the rest of the town should subsidize that with their tax dollars. But in the end, they'll make that final
Right.
decision, so. As Ned says, the voters always make the right decision. Because they voted.
I just had two things to add. So, you responded to the community survey, but those questions were on the community survey. So granted, not everybody responds to the community survey, but they are doing an analysis, and it's not going to be a one-sided analysis done by internal.
Right.
It's hired company that's actually going to do a analysis of the data and give information
good.
about that data.
Yep.
Well,
And
and those questions were in there, some of them were in there.
right. As I emailed you after I took the survey, you could ask that independent company if they thought that the framing of the questions
That's always.
was rather
Yeah.
agenda driven.
So what they did, and I can tell
And I
you,
didn't review it ahead of time.
the
so
community
whatever.
survey was developed mainly from questions we've used consistently in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah.
They did, because of the feedback we've gotten from all committees,
Yeah.
they held what they called like a hearing, and the first step, actually, let me take a step back, on the survey, they solicited from multiple committees some questions. And some of those questions came in and were added in, one or two questions were added in from each committee that made a response. And then when they did the vision chapter of the master plan, they held a public hearing for just committees to come to, and took input on the vision chapter of the master plan. So knock on wood, they did listen from the all committees meeting, and they were trying to work to communicate a little bit more
Yeah.
about things, but.
I hadn't thought about it. My sister, of course, they're living in Florida now, my sister and husband, but they've got the place at the lake. She took it and she said, wow, this is a wish list, was her first comment on it. And it kind of is, so we have to keep that in mind, that's all.
Yep.
We may want these things, but again, who's gonna pay for it?
But to your point,
Yeah.
but-
I hadn't thought about the solar question coming in from the public as a warrant article. And I'd be much more comfortable with that than us imposing our will
Yeah.
on the voters.
Yeah.
Well, so, two things, you could put it on the warrant article and say whether you support it or not and let the voters vote on it. Or you can say, well, we're not gonna put it on the warrant,
But
they
you're
can
welcome
get a
to.
petition
Yeah.
and bring it in, and you can also still say
Support it
yeah,
or
whether you
not
support it or
support it.
not at that time.
Yep.
And so the reason, I think it's probably good that you make a decision either tonight or next meeting, because you have to give that, you don't wanna be accused that you didn't give them enough time to get signatures for a petition warrant article.
Sure.
I think
so
that committee's prepared to come with a petition,
They are,
because they present, I think
the
that's
energy
what I
committee
heard.
is, yeah.
So, wouldn't be a big deal if.
So what would be the difference though? If it was a warrant article and we didn't agree, or if it was a petition warrant and we didn't agree, what's the difference?
Well, if it's a warrant article and we don't agree to put it on, it doesn't go on.
Right,
Oh,
No, no.
if you don't agree to support it, so.
That could be 3-2 yay or 3-2 nay, and it wouldn't go on.
it's
They
not.
wouldn't have the opportunity then.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Right.
And that's why we've done fireworks as a warrant
Because
article.
I've seen that happen where boards have strung out
Right,
Issue
trying out the process
and make it, and then they
then
don't
not
have
put it
time
on.
to get
Oh,
up.
wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
That's not right either.
Right.
But
Right.
that does happen.
I'd rather see it go as a
I
petition
don't,
personally.
you
I would
know,
too.
in the years I've been involved in it, I don't think you're never wrong if you have a petition warrant article that it shows at least, 25 people
Yeah.
Yeah.
or something, and then.
Heck,
you
we
got-
bought
you got
a
for or against it.
$400,000 fire truck on a petition
There
warrant.
you go. You know, and It's truly the people.
It still blows my mind.
Yeah,
You know,
But
yeah,
then we would speak to the point also,
if,
if it's a petition,
yay or nay.
We could.
if we disagree,
Right.
we
Or you
should.
can be
would-
silent, or
normally
you can
take
be
a
silent.
vote
Right.
on
Yeah,
the
we'd have.
You would-
warrant articles
Yeah.
themselves.
So if it was a petition article and it would say, selectmen support this 3-2, selectmen do not support this 2-3, or whatever.
And the
Whatever.
budget committee would, because it is financial,
Right,
it's an exemption, so it wouldn't take away from assessment, so I believe they would also
I would
have
think so,
have the
yeah.
say,
Yeah.
so.
So we should be prepared to speak to it somehow.
Because somebody may say, I'd like to know
Why
why the
they
select board
support
voted
it.
the way they did.
Right, often that does happen.
So are you ready to say that you don't want to put that on the warrant and suggest that they go through with whatever process they wanna make? That, he was supposed to be here tonight to ask you
Yeah.
that, so.
If it came, for me, if it came as a warrant, I would say I wouldn't want to support that.
I would say I'd like to see it as a petition article.
Me too.
Okay,
And I think Don was of the same, from the night he was
oh,
here.
he was too, yes.
He was of the same, I
Yeah.
thought, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Wow, that was easy.
Okay.
Anything else we want to speak for Don about?
He is gonna run it, no, wait,
Yeah, Don has decided he's a
Also, he may change his mind, no kidding.
He seems pretty adamant.
Yeah, okay.
thanks, Sean, for giving me the time.
No, that's why we're here.
Well, do you wanna go back up to job descriptions?
Let's do it.
So I didn't print them out, I just put them in your files. There's under number 7. I think I put it in the TA report. I just created a spreadsheet today because, that's me. I've split out every department, and what account they go to, what the job description is, and then so we have some kind of master list that says when they were last approved and so on.
Okay.
Nice,
Um,
nice.
My other thought is, while we're doing this, because this is your first set, is, I have matched back the titles to the budget already, the budget codes already. I'd like to change the budget to match the actual job title,
Mhm.
and then the wage scale.
Yep.
So all 3 are exactly the same.
Should-
So that's the intent, every time we adopt something, is
Yeah,
that everything will
absolutely.
be done right across the board.
Yep.
So the first set.
So you want us to you want us to go through each one of these and approve them?
No, well,
Or,
I mean, you do have to approve them, but I
Okay.
don't think you have to vote on every single, I think you can vote on them as
Okay.
sets if you want.
yeah,
What do you,
No, I think, telling it's too much time, but you should diligently read through those, and if something really hits you in the face, like, they're pretty much, I don't think
Well,
there's a lot of changes, a lot of them
these are pretty
pretty
we've already done
self-explanatory, but, so
some of them,
you
but-
can spend a lot of time on them or not. Frankly, we didn't see anything that, on this particular bunch, that
that's why I picked these first.
could jump out. They're pretty thing, unless something has occurred in the years you've been here on, say, highway foreman or whatever you'd like to see changed, but other than that, you could probably say good, and then you're gonna have to sign them as updated and
Yeah.
what you wanna see going forward.
Well, I didn't think that was said, so is that, I honestly hadn't been through this process before, do you have to sign off, or can you just
There
approve
should,
them in minutes?
well, there should be a sign, in other words,
Okay.
an updated, the book, the new employee gets,
Should have.
should have the current, well, an updated select board signature page. It could be just the page that you would change, as selectman change or whatever,
You
and
don't
then
have anything like that?
you should, so that you can, and if you get to court, whatever,
Yeah.
then you made your decision on an employee matter that was as current as the towns used to do it, every 2 to 3 years, whatever it is. So some of these haven't been done in a long time.
Right.
So what I suggested to Christina is that if you get as a group, you say, this group looks good, she'll create signature pages
Yeah.
Yep.
at a meeting.
So our homework that I'm assigning is to look at these over the next 2 weeks.
Speed read them, if something hits you
And
in the
we'll put
face.
them on the next
And we'll put
agenda.
them for approval on the next one, and then you can give us another batch.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I just kind of,
Did you email those to us?
thank you.
Yes, they're
Yeah,
in
they're
your-
in your emails.
they're in
I
the-
can't get them email.
Oh,
When you
I
go-
did
We went
not
through it, never mind. We
read
threw a
through all
password
of
thing
them
this week.
completely, so thank you for catching those.
Well, and I
Right
was
here, there.
skimming,
Each
so
of the
they
ones-
I'll go
may
back
have
and
missed
Yeah.
some.
I'll go back and read
You're
it.
much better at that than I am.
So you could click on that, read it, and then go from there.
So, the only one I point out just really, was the one I think I mentioned in the email was the welfare director. At some point during the last few years, it was changed to human services. Human services, people they call HR,
Human
they
resources.
call finance, they don't call welfare. And Ingrid has asked me in the past to return and ask us if we can put it back to welfare.
Okay.
So
Recognizable.
the budget says welfare,
Yeah.
and the wage scale says human services, and the website says human services, and it's all over the place. So if we can go back to, consider going back to welfare director, we would update everything to welfare. But other than that, I didn't make any changes, and the only other comment I will make on the town clerk tax collector was, the new position she's proposing is not in there because it hasn't been approved yet. And then I'm tracking that as well with the spreadsheet,
Okay.
which this spreadsheet can go into this binder now. So-
You could look at, yeah.
Well done.
All right.
All right, so I'll put them on the next agenda with signature pages.
Oops.
Revenues. So I just preliminary, just wanted to put them out there so you could see it, and see if there was anything that jumped out that you were concerned about. I'm just double checking. Some of these, I believe there was still one department head that didn't, comment on them, but we'll double check at the department head meeting. The 2023 budget number is 3 million in revenue, but even if you look at got lost here, under fire department, which is the 30, starts at 3290, 1, 2, 3 down on the first page, I believe.
Yep.
If you look at the 2023 budget number, it's 325,000 for the ambulance fees. We're already at 391,000 as of the end of November. So then there is some potential that number might be able to be changed. And I think he was being really conservative, we can ask him to take a look at those again next week, but if
Yeah.
anything jumps out at you and I think you have to vote on these as well.
Right.
So we'll finalize them at next week's department
Yep.
meeting and get them back to you on the 15th.
Because in some of
Is
them,
the
it looked like they
15th
were being
typically when you
cautious.
vote on your
Yeah, well, some of them I think Bob.
I don't know
A little
the
bit
date,
later,
I
you
just
put it January.
remember doing it in the budget season, yeah.
I wasn't sure when you did it, to be
Because
honest.
we typically did it in January
Yeah.
after they close out, you know.
Yeah,
A year.
You can do it whatever you want, but
yeah, I mean.
So we
not so
can
hard.
wait and schedule, but the only thing with January is they don't close out the year until like the second week of January. Which I think revenues are scheduled to go.
Budget.
So the budget on, but well, it would work, it does say, oh, no, never mind, January 31st. Revisit any section, snow day work session on warrant articles and revenues, so so we could do it in January after the year is closed out.
All right.
because that gives you a chance,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that gives you a chance, if you got a department that's produced some bucks for you, you can adjust it so it looks a little better. You know, you can be closer to the actual revenues on your projections.
So what are we voting on?
No,
There's no voting, it's just a, you know.
No voting, it's just, this is your preliminary discussion to get you looking at it and seeing what we've taken in so far for revenues
Through the.
and what we're proposing
Yeah.
for next year to take in for revenues, so.
Okay, and
But you'll vote on it in January.
this goes, when you said it goes to budget, you mean to
It goes to budget too, they get to see it as well.
the budget committee?
Yep.
After you
Yeah,
voted on it,
yeah, okay.
But the selectmen have to approve it first and then it goes to, yeah.
But, okay. We're approving what we think it's gonna be in the future. What it is now is what it is. Or am I,
Right. But you have to prove what we project it to be.
Yeah.
good, thank
That's
you.
all. It's just an estimate.
Sorry again, guys.
That's
But you
all
do
right.
have to
I'm
provide it.
new in town.
You are fine, Carol.
Anita, you're supposed to be helping me here.
I think that's the hardest thing for someone who doesn't spend any time in government financing.
Yeah.
You're a very successful businessman and they
I
just
try to-
don't understand
I tried to explain to people,
and they, yeah,
how convoluted the whole process
It
is.
is.
I said, we spend a quarter of our budget before we even approve it.
Right.
yeah.
Right, it's just
And they're
boggles.
like, what?
Yeah, boggles mine, yeah.
And if you have leftover money, it vanishes,
And-
so.
Yeah. Throw in how we collect taxes and
Right.
how they're assessed, that makes it even worse.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, and right, because you're,
You collect on a calendar year, but you assess April 1st to March 31st.
exactly,
You collect ahead
right,
Yeah,
for the next year, technically.
and then
Right.
try to explain fund balance.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah,
right,
which isn't really.
and
money
overlay,
thing.
and overlay.
And overlay.
And, look at it, okay, well, this house just sold for $300,000. Well, yeah, but the town only has it assessed at 200, so that means it bumps it up to 300? Nope.
No.
No, but 5 years might, no kidding.
Yeah, right.
No, and then you expand that out to a CIP, it's a plan, but they're like, well, it's $1.2 million or $3 million or whatever. Well, no, but it's, you know, producing money, it's what we think we're gonna spend in 10 years, you know, it's like.
Why do any of us do this?
CIP is easy to do when times are good.
When times are good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense, right.
It gets a little harder when inflation's around 7 or 8%.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, okay. TA?
I'm not gonna touch base on everything, it's pretty, but if you do have any questions about the vehicle, I can touch vehicle issues.
The highway truck isn't really an issue, just,
If they're driving, just in case, we wanted you to be aware because if someone.
do we have
came
a,
to
do
you,
we know,
We don't know who, they wouldn't tell us.
The dealer is supposed to gonna contact the person they sold it to, tell them, get the damn seals out the door.
right, and then on the ambulance, the insurance is working it out.
We've got Primex involved now, so
Okay.
yes.
Okay,
We can skip over minutes, and I'm sorry, Carol, if you don't have your flow chart yet, I'm getting there every time I turn around.
Right now, I don't even care after this. Never mind, I don't really want it.
Forget a flow chart.
Oh, you're gonna get it now.
oh, you're gonna get it.
It's gonna have a really unhappy face on it.
And then we have a plan with KTZ Hydro on the
So
parking
there's
lot.
a couple things you may wanna talk about,
Okay,
correct, Les?
Yep, yep.
So for the most part, their plan actually, pretty much everything it's their lot,
Right.
technically.
right,
So, but everything that they propose is reasonable. In the picture I drew, my nice little picture, the area on the dirt side is not dirt anymore in this picture. It is paved all the way, but they own all the way
to the building.
this line here, the
Yeah.
building's back here. And the problem, when we got there, the problem they've been having is there with this property. And I'm like, well, you made it sound like it was with us, and I was like, that, unfortunately, we can't get involved with that. And they just wanted to make us aware, just in case the neighbor comes to us.
Right.
So I was like, I appreciate that part of it. They're gonna mark that off. It sounds like they're gonna cross-hatch the whole area, mark it off.
Mark said he'd paint it.
He could know the fire lane, he will paint.
In the spring.
Yeah, you can't paint the
That they're gonna pay for the
Right.
painting of that. The neighbor only has a right to pass over.
Right.
And they've worked out parking arrangements there, so the parking that they are already lined is all that they have. But what's happening is they're getting blocked and they can't get to the dam, the little dam
Right.
building.
Right.
They're also getting blocked on the other side. And
The
They-
gate area.
so if you look, they're getting blocked with the little triangle and where you
Yep.
can go down, they're getting, and conveniently they got blocked while we were there.
Big time
With a
block.
big
Did they pay
trailer.
for someone to do that?
Nope, the police department did. So, I was like, oh, this is
been
not
taken
good.
care of.
But, so the first step they're gonna take care of.
Yeah.
The next one over, that you see the little square, it is probably too close to a fire
Yeah.
hydrant. It's a dry hydrant, I
Yep.
believe.
Yeah.
It's less than, 10 feet, not even 10 feet from it.
Yeah.
So they would, we're gonna lose that parking space.
Yeah.
And they're gonna make a fire lane there next year, and that will be what Mark will mark off.
Okay.
And that was reasonable, no problem there, but we do lose one parking space.
Yeah.
The next part way over is where it is white, this map doesn't show, because it hasn't been updated yet, but where the triangle and the driveway is, people don't know that, and they're blocking them. They're
Yeah.
parking in those spaces, especially when there's snow on the ground, they can't see the lines, and, they're blocking, they can't get in. 2 o'clock in the morning, they have to get down there for something,
Yeah.
and they can't get in.
Yeah.
So they're gonna put signs up, saying no parking, you could be towed at their cost.
Yeah.
They reminded us that they own this property
Yep.
and that we hold an
An
easement for
yeah.
parking only. Not in a mean way, they were
No,
very
they
good.
were really good.
And then the third issue that's been happening is on this side, where there's, in your picture, the van's parked. There are 3 spaces there, 3, yeah. And the overnight parking during the snow event is this parking lot.
Yeah.
People are not moving by 8 o'clock in the morning, so when the town crew comes down to clean it up, they can't. And so the lot isn't getting cleaned up, this areas aren't getting cleaned up, and they were concerned about that. So, they asked about putting in signs that say they have to be out by 8, which is a reasonable request as well,
Yeah.
and that would be at our cost. And Mark wanted to confirm the word, I said, well, let's talk to the board, just make sure they're in with everything first before we pick wording to put up
Yeah,
on these signs.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
It seemed
I
reasonable.
mean, it sucks that you have to have pretty much a sign on every
Right.
parking space.
Well,
It kind of clutters up the whole,
Yeah.
the whole
And I
thing.
think you could probably have a sign just
Right.
on a couple of areas,
Yeah.
not every single space.
Yeah, I'm
But-
exaggerating
but I know
on
what you
that,
mean.
but yeah, but at the same time, yeah, if we're going to keep our ability to have that parking.
Right,
Well, the other thing was,
Yeah,
that we
that's
have a
the-
trail parking sign
and it's
Yeah. on their
Yeah,
property
right,
that's,
that we don't have any right to have.
right,
Yeah,
so the trail, it says trailhead parking, and then it also says it on the map, and they pointed that out.
yeah.
And they had concerns over that, which, that part I wanted to bring to you to make that decision, because here we are with a penny path committee that's gonna go do
Mm-hmm.
and promote that area for parking, when they're already concerned with what's being promoted now.
Yeah.
So that's something for you to decide if we should take the sign out now and leave it on the maps, or leave it alone for now and see what
Do they
happens.
want us to take it out?
I thought
He
he
wanted me to
indicated
take
he
it off
wanted
the
to take it
maps.
off the map, and and I thought he said, when we said, well, we could remove the sign, that would be appreciated, I thought.
I didn't hear the second part, so that's why I was.
If we placed a sign on their property that we don't have a right to do, and we're advertising it, we need to fix that.
So take it off the maps and
Yeah.
take it
And I
off.
think down the road, this is the tip of the iceberg of the big problem. If that trip gets made for snowmobiles, you're gonna have a mess. Because not only are snowmobiles gonna come in and park where the hell ever they can so they can walk into town,
Right.
okay? What I can tell you from snowmobile is they're gonna tow a trailer, there's gonna be
Trailer.
trucks back with trailers and dump it, and start their trip from there. Somebody's gonna try it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you're gonna police that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna take a lot of thoughts on the committee
Yeah.
as it goes along. You guys might wanna keep in your radar to say, whoa, wait a minute, how are we gonna deal with this? Cause the snowmobiles will come. We all know that. They will come in and wanna use the
They would probably.
restaurants, and they will
There
come.
you go.
They will.
Is there, I don't know, call it a business plan for lack of, for developing the trail farther down? Has there been a?
Well, there is for the
Somewhere.
development of the trail, but there isn't for the development of the success of the trail.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How many people?
Personally, I would
use it?
say, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to park the sled down at the bottom and walk up,
And walk.
Yeah.
and no trail parking.
You could-
Something
you
you have
could
to think about
create an
because,
area
we know.
Because there's room down at
At
the bottom.
yep,
Down at the bottom,
of the hill,
Of
of
the
the
hill.
trail.
so you would make that roadworthy for cars?
No,
No.
that
Snowmobiles.
snowmobilers, would be,
I don't know why I can't.
Oh, they'd have to park at the bottom of the hill and
if
walk
they
up to
wanna
go
walk
to
up to
the
the town,
restaurant.
yeah.
They'd have their truck and trailer at Profile Falls.
Right.
Right,
Or somewhere else.
Or Andover.
Or
Yeah,
anywhere.
right, Andover, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've ridden from Andover, where I come up through, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, so, there's
Yeah.
plenty of parking down
Makes
there.
sense.
Or at least there was, I don't know if it still is, but.
Either that, or we ask the state to let us have snowmobiles on the roads through town, like the ATVs in Berlin.
Well,
I did reach out to the owner of Celitos about, and to
It's done.
restart the conversation about parking.
Because
He's
then they
reached
could
out
jump
to
off
me and
quicker
asked
with
me to
huge
give him a
amounts.
call, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna
The
start
sign.
calling.
Okay.
So I might have some more information,
Great.
at least about that spot, so.
Yep.
Okay, so I've got directions there. Infinity LEDs all set, electric rates is a problem. I'm not happy, and the person I was speaking to knows I'm not happy. He came back today and told me, so last week, I submitted the
Yep.
contract you signed. He said as long as I got it in Wednesday by 4, we'd lock in. Wednesday night, I happened to get an email that says he couldn't lock us in, and that he would try again next week. So Tuesday, I emailed and said, what's going on? It's a volatile market now. My suggestion is you consider locking in a higher rate. I'm like, no, they didn't sign their contract, unfortunately, we only did. I said, no, you told me you could get us locked in at 14.8, what is it at now? 16.7 for 2 years. And he said, if I can get 14.8, if you sign 3, now my red flags are going off now. No. I said, well, and he says, if you sign it today, I can get you. And I'm like, I told the board a 2-year 14.8, I'm not gonna sign another year contract with you, just to get that 14.8. You need to keep me in touch with me and let me know what's going on. I'm not locking in today, and I reached out to Freedom Energy and asked them for a quote.
Okay. Now, is this Eversource?
Nicely done. Very nice.
Eversource is 22 cents, at last we checked, I don't know what
I was
they're
gonna
at
say you could
now.
go direct, but it's not a savings.
No. No, we're locked, we know we're 10 cents until the end of the month, and then we were supposed to only go up to 14.8, and,
We'd be happy to do 3 years at 13, eh?
I can go back to him, but I couldn't believe we couldn't even lock in
That's a
14.8.
good idea.
So we could do 3 years if you can do 13.8.
13.8.
Yeah,
Well, that's usually how extended contract works.
That's how that works.
Right?
Every time he goes up, you go down.
You should have taken 14,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, you should take it. So I'll reach back out
There
to
you go.
him and say, I
So
talked to the
just
board,
get it.
they'd be happy to do 3 years if you guarantee him 13.8.
Yep.
And every time he goes up, you go down one.
But I did reach out to Freedom Energy, they're already
Okay.
doing our net metering to see if they do the same program and see what they could offer.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that, so we're trying to resolve that. Conference room, you don't have any questions about this?
No.
Okay.
I'm a little concerned about the whiteboard being moved around everywhere.
Good God, that thing was heavy. But it sat in that closet and never came out
Yeah.
for 2 years now. So, the next one, you have any questions about that one?
Nope.
Okay, we were supposed to call him, I'll try to call him tomorrow to advise him, I forgot about it today. NewHampshire.gov, the website is now newhampshire.gov.
Nice.
There have been a couple of issues with it, and I'm gonna ask Kate with what's called like the formatting.
Probably, there's some glitches, I'm guessing because of the changeover
Yeah.
that are on their end, that Christina ran into last night, right?
So last night when I sent you the report, I clicked on the FEMA log and I'm like, that's not supposed to look like that. I'm like, I was hoping none of you clicked on it. And I opened a ticket. The problem we found out is that the IT company it won't help us with this. We've never had to go to the website directly before. Cade does, because he works with them.
Right.
But Cade's graciously agreed to be the point person whenever the website isn't working right. We're gonna get in touch with Cade now instead.
They're used to me asking dumb
Yeah.
questions.
So, and we have a handful of emails that, including Carol's, I believe, that haven't been updated to the NH.gov, but we're almost done that project.
Okay.
Any questions on the business development one?
No.
Just the one thing I'll point out, we had a contract, apparently, there is a contract that was signed in 2021 that we didn't know about, and we've given them a deposit, so we're really trying to get it back up because we've already paid for stuff that we don't have, and we
right.
are gonna have to pay for the rest of the contract, so. But Katie has also graciously agreed to help coordinate that. So, which leads to the media manager contract.
Yep.
That expires in December and we'll be coming to you next meeting with, some proposed change to it.
Correct.
Conferences, we'll be meeting with the department heads, next week. We've already started a list. We're trying to make sure that we can encumber, as much as we can out of this budget to pay for things that have been started because we had that stall period where we weren't able to do anything for a little while. So we're trying to fix that. Hub 66, would any of you like to attend a site visit tomorrow?
Time,
2 o'clock.
if you remind me, like 12 times, yeah.
Well,
Well, I guess the furnace guy's coming sometime tomorrow, but.
Tour of this building.
We've asked them for an in-person visit.
Yeah.
As you see in my email, I have an electrician come. So, that comment was made to me about the work that was done before I had the electrician come. I was like, are you kidding me right now? So I have some concerns about, everybody has concerns about what's upstairs, obviously. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Now there's stuff stockpiled outside. And we do have concerns about no one's here to move the van when we have to plow, so we talked to them about those things, about the electricity, about the the space upstairs.
Okay.
So, and see where it goes. So,
Did you tell them that none of the licensed electrician had come in and said, well, at least they use the right wire?
yeah, I put that in there.
But-
He said at least they use the right, the thing, he said the good news is they use the right wire and it's not energized.
Because it was obviously not done by a
Yeah.
licensed electrician.
I'm wrapped up tomorrow. I
Okay.
won't be available, but.
I could probably come up, I mean, as long as I can remember long enough to write
I
my
can-
phone.
I mean, I can come, I get Furnace guys coming, but once they're in the
So-
building, they're on their
The
own.
fire chief is supposed to walk you, he's not feeling well. I mean, if he's not, then the deputy will come over,
Okay.
and Mark is supposed to come over as well, so that I can have him have a conversation about the parking. I'm gonna have a conversation about the rest of the stuff, but,
Okay.
but I wanted to see if somebody from the select board could be
I'll
there.
just, I'll get a list. You did the other one, you did the other.
I'll remind you in the morning.
You'll need to, but that would be great.
The second part of that, we're working to get the full licenses transferred over. Sean hadn't, let me just double check.
And just an email, I think, just came in from him. I think.
No, not to me.
Okay.
So I sent but I do have another answer. Sorry, so I sent an email to Sean with, they've asked for a couple of things. One was a template about support for Hub 66 that they need for the state. I asked Sean to make sure the letter was okay before I did anything with it. And then I asked Sean to also review the applications for the full license transfers. So I will have that by the 15th for you.
Great.
Oh, and going back to the fire department, did you see the comment that if we get information, that there may have to be a meeting next week?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just leave it alone for now, so
Yeah.
I will hopefully know more tomorrow. But Community Garden Group,
Yep.
they had solicited someone to build a shed, and it got back to us that they were going to be building a shed, and we were like, hello. So I've spoken to them, and I've gotten, I didn't put this in because I didn't get this till today. They're proposing, this is the maintenance building, and this is where they're proposing to put the shed. It will be facing the,
The
middle
school parking lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't see a huge issue with it, but I'm trying to make sure that they understand their channels that they're to follow.
Yeah.
So I said that I would bring it to the select board, and you would either allow them to build the shed or make them buy a plastic shed, whichever you prefer. They have $700 that they've collected.
Good luck.
They
I
have to,
You
so, I'm
took the
sure,
words out of my mouth.
so 700, they're gonna buy the lumber this year and not build it till the spring.
Yeah.
Is my understanding, and so
And is the
whoever's,
lumber gonna be there or somewhere else?
well, and they're talking about storing it, but I think we probably should, if the lumber is being purchased first, well, so they've gotten money from a grant.
Yeah.
The grant is $700 in 2022 through grants from the New Hampshire Master Gardeners Alumni Association.
Yeah.
So it is specific to what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
But however, the money comes to the town.
Okay.
So if they don't spend that money, the 700, by the end of this year, then it goes back to the general fund.
And that's not this 500 that's in here?
No, I didn't have the right, I was
Got
told, Bob told
Got
me 500,
Yeah,
but
okay.
the email from Jane White today says 700, so.
Yeah, they'll be struggling even with 750 to do that.
Yeah.
So here's the other thing I'll throw out there. They got 2,500 in 2021 for a grant that they never spent, and it went back to the general fund. So it doesn't seem that that should have happened, because that was a grant for the master gardeners.
I don't remember anything about that.
I'll double check with Bob, because he did tell me that they lost money one year, he said last year the money went to the general fund. This year it's gonna go there again if they don't spend it. But that's an awful, I don't think the intent of that grant was for it to go to the general fund.
No.
So my thoughts, that's why I put this out there for you to think about once I confirm everything, whether we should do a warrant article
Yeah.
to take that money out of the general fund or not, but we'd have to figure out how we wanna handle that. But I'll confirm that with Bob and have that for you for your next meeting.
I'd like to know what the process was in that grant, cause I don't remember.
I don't think, so this says she did a Master Gardeners Alumni Association, when she's a member, she got those 2 grants. And the
Don't we
money was-
usually have to sign or something?
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh, and Midstate did a donation for 2022, so the first one was a grant, the second one was a donation.
Yeah.
It says we did
Both
not
of which
use the
was
money
you
for
guys.
2021, and we were not aware that if we not used by the end of the year, it would go to the general fund. I reported the grants to Nick. And she says, I'm not sure how it was shared to anyone else, and that's the end of her email.
Okay. All right.
So I will find out more information about
Yep.
that, but if you're okay with the shed, and you're okay with them.
I'd rather have a wooden shed there than some
Yeah.
plastic crappy.
Because they don't stand up well, they get
Yeah.
beaten up.
Okay,
You need 1,500 to 2,000.
so that's the thing, they may need that money.
Yeah.
They just
So
don't.
build much for $2,000.
And maybe that's something, if I find out that money truly was and went into the general fund, maybe that's a warrant article and we make them wait until the spring to buy it.
Yeah.
And we do a warrant article.
And then they lose the 700, no, we'd get that in the general fund, the 700 too.
Yeah, So it's something, so we'll
No,
figure.
you said that was a oh, no, a grant.
She said, the first one she said was a grant, the second one she's saying a donation.
So the $700 is a donation.
But
Says
she was
money for the
indicating that
shed.
they were gonna lose it if they didn't use it by the end of the year.
Yeah,
I wonder if
Which
she's
is came-
confusing that.
so no, I think they came here, the money
Oh.
came here. See, and this
So they
is
would
just,
lose
this is another example of committees
Yeah.
and adding work because
Yeah.
the money came here and.
It got lost.
And who has to be followed and
Yeah.
so. But I'll clarify and have that answer for the 15th.
Okay.
But you're okay, I'm gonna tell them you're okay with the shed, but hold off on buying anything
Yeah.
until we get a better answer on the 15th.
Right.
Is that something we can encumber, that money that's been,
Not without a
No,
contract.
because it was last,
no, not a contract,
The
right?
700, we can't without some type of contract in place.
That's the piece I meant,
The
yeah.
2,500 is gone.
No, I meant the 7, yeah, okay.
So we could say, well, if in fact that 700 came to the town, do we know?
It did, Bob,
Okay.
Bob told me 500, but he may have had the wrong number.
Okay. Whatever that number is, plus the 25, we'd do the warrant article for both, because it would be a 2023 expenditure.
Yeah.
So it'd be
And
like
that would get them-
$3,200 or whatever.
Get them to be able to spend it next year, whatever they need, but they would lose it after that,
Right,
if they didn't,
right.
But they'd still need a contract or no?
not if we do a lot
Not
of
for a
article.
warrant article, no.
We do it from the general fund.
Because I was thinking there might be some funds left in Kelly Park master plan, but
Well, I
that would
wonder,
complicate it
can
because
we-
we'd have to have a contract.
That would be better, actually. Can't we just do a warrant article to let them spend some funds this year, but do a warrant article to take the money and put it in the Kelly Park from the general fund, because they would just have to expend the money through the Kelly Park
Mhm.
to do the projects, and that would make them have to get things approved.
You know, just a thought is,
Can they use volunteers to build it then still?
Yeah,
oh yeah. Just a thought, I mean, your
They just
budget
sign a waiver.
is looking pretty good for this year. I mean, we were just doing some quick
except
numbers.
for one, okay.
Well, yeah, but except for, but the bottom line, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
I mean, you're gonna be 600,000 to 700,000 in the black. Something like this.
unless something crazy
Unless
happens.
something crazy happens, but you know, how within the next month, well, it's already December, so you got 4 weeks. You could say, buy the materials and store it,
Yeah,
and out of this budget, and don't go through all that.
right.
Just a suggestion.
I
Well,
mean,
we can't spend the 2,500, we'd have to do a warrant article for it.
no, but
But
If
do
we
it as
just
a,
spent it out of the budget
build
this
build
year.
the shed,
You could,
but do it out of this budget.
Right.
So I wonder if LaValleys would take the money and then hold the materials until we need, have the money,
You
but
could build a
do
credit.
we have any
They'd
room
probably
in
do
that
it.
maintenance shed?
Hmm?
To store, do we have any room in the maintenance to store their materials?
You might in the winter, cause they're not using it in the winter, that would be a good Mark question. There
My
might-
guess is you could
Well, how much,
create
I don't know how many
create a
materials
account
we're
that
talking.
I don't either.
is prepaid
Yeah,
at Valleys and
yeah.
they will just
Just
check
be
it
on
off
their
as you
balance
spend it.
sheet until
I mean,
spring.
we've done that with Slim before.
Yeah, we have,
Goes
yeah.
back.
Yeah.
I don't, just, sometimes it's, you create more.
Yeah.
Like if you just,
Yeah.
the $20 was
Well, just-
$20,000, but it's not.
I mean, if the money came to the town and
Yeah.
it's in our general fund, but you said
I'll confirm the amounts with
they had a
Bob.
grant from, but you said they lost money from last year, 2021.
It went back to the general fund.
So
However, if we have some extra money, we could probably still take care of it out
Yeah.
of this year's budget. And even, it's in the general fund, we would just spend it.
Right, right.
so,
Okay.
but-
all
You
right.
probably have a line item somewhere you could assign it.
I'll let them know they're okay to do the shed, but hold off, we're working out some
Yeah,
other ideas for them, so.
I'd rather they had $3,000 to spend on a shed
Right.
than
Bought a built one, then have somebody build it.
$700, because you know what that's gonna look
Wouldn't they
like.
have $2,700 though?
They would have
They would have
750 plus.
2,500 plus
Plus
700.
So 3,200.
3,200. They could potentially buy a shed versus.
Right.
I don't know.
You could, I just
Mark looked
did
at one
one
up here.
last year,
Yeah.
they could get,
Could you get
What-
one that size? Because Mark looked at one when we were,
I mean, it depends how big they want to go.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna have someone donate their labor to build it, you
For-
get more building, but
4 or 5 by 12.
She said she wasn't sure if it would be 4 feet or 5 feet.
And
but
it
they
should
do
be,
need
5
the
feet's too
12
small even, 6 by
Yeah.
12 maybe.
Yeah, what's 6 by 12?
5 by
72.
72 square feet.
No.
Yeah, but how much
I
money is
didn't hear you said.
6 by 12?
What would
much
the
is-
cost be?
Don't know.
Yeah, mine was, I think mine was 8 by 12 and I was somewhere of around $1,600 for materials, I did it myself.
Oh, you did it, so,
By the time you're done, we should.
About a sheriff's look, we'll hire you.
Volunteer.
It looks pretty good, actually.
Alright, well, we'll figure something out there.
Okay.
Sustainability, do you have any comments on that?
No.
And the only comment I will add is, what we were talking about earlier is that we keep, when we establish committees, they now need not just work from us, but now they need money from us.
Right.
So, are you fine with the way I'm doing it for next year, not putting it in and just I'll
Yes.
find it somewhere?
Yep. Yep.
Any questions on budget committee updates? We've already kind of talked about it.
Yep.
So the only, I was going back through my notes, the only item that, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, the fire department showed a 7% increase, but the chief said it's actually gonna be like a 1% decrease when he gets the expected revenues, is that right? Because they were concerned it was a 7% increase on the line.
So when the fire chief argued his budget, he argues it based off of what his budget is and what he collects for revenues.
Right.
If you take just those two and look at each other, yeah, it is probably a -1% increase technically on his budget. But it's a gross budget, and gross revenues, and they offset each other completely. His revenues help offset, not just
Right.
his budget.
Right. But I was thinking we should be aware of that if that question comes up on
Yeah, yeah.
town meeting day. Why
Yeah.
is it a 7% increase? That's all.
And do you have any interest in the posting? Because I'd rather just put that up there and say, we're not gonna do that. The third sentence, third paragraph under budget committee,
the posting?
posting the list.
No.
No.
This is the
Okay.
conversation we were
Just wanna
having.
make
No.
sure, I want it to be a definite no, okay.
So BJ's has a wooden shed 10 by 12 for 1849.
Yeah.
You have to put it together, but
Yeah.
So Mark was looking for money to try and get the shed sooner than later. And
Yep.
there's no money in solid waste, and we'll be back to you on the 15th to talk to you about that.
Okay.
But if he needs to get the shed,
Yeah.
obviously it's starting to get colder, and that would be a good option.
Yep.
And if we could find it somewhere else in the budget.
Yep.
You
He's
need to
also
have them just
gonna,
buy one?
he's also got a very
Yeah.
large repair, I just
Yeah.
found out. It's gonna be somewhere, an expensive repair on,
Truck loader,
the new
Baylor?
transfer station, it's the, I'm picturing him in my head right now, I
Baylor?
just can't think of the crusher, well,
Yep.
not the crusher, but not
Compactor.
the baler, the compactor.
Yeah.
The
Baylor,
things that push the
The ram.
compactor in, thank you,
Yeah.
there you go.
the thing.
The ram! And as soon as he gets the quote, there's no money in the solid waste
Right.
budget, so my thoughts are that could come from the contingency fund if the board was okay with that.
okay, yeah,
And I would let the budget committee know if that's what we did.
yeah.
Farmer's market. They would like to, this is what the farmer's market would like, the Lions Club has offered to pay for it. I talked to Mark today, and Mark is against that idea. He feels that it's gonna add another, he said his concern is it's gonna be a railing with no steps.
Yeah.
The second part is it's gonna be another obstacle to try and mow around. His suggestion is that the farmer's market finds a way to set it up so that their actually entrance is off the sidewalk.
Yeah. that's where it
And
should be.
so I just wanted to put, that's Mark's opinion. I can go back to them and suggest that they do something else.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Getting rid of that huge stump made a big difference down there, but there's still, the problem is anything that they want to do on that slope is just, once you crack that slope open,
Yeah.
you've got bricks and blocks
Mm.
and metal and everything else. So
Right.
either should be cleaned out and maybe be tiered, which it really should be, but it should be a project. It's gonna,
We've got a plan from Mike
Right.
McNally about shifting and extending the parking lot a little and kind of gradually making that a less
less of a
harsh
slope, yeah.
slope, but
Something more organized and designed rather than just
throwing up a
a
rail.
railing going down, like you said. They're not gonna do steps or anything because once you start digging in that, all they did was cover that with sand. When
Yeah,
that burned, and they pulled all the big stuff out and covered it with sand, and then they put loam on top. And it's fine, it's been great for a long time, and it's pretty, and people like it. But if you're gonna have if you're really gonna have a good farmer's market there, it does need a little bit of leveling. And to do that, you have to get into that area that has been covered over.
Alright, so I can go back to them and ask them to come up with another idea.
We're open to ideas, but we
Yeah.
don't really like that one.
And I didn't, the second part, I didn't bring a card, I did not realize, I told Sean, so I didn't bring a card, I didn't know this was a couple months ago.
Farmer's market, something, I was at orientation at the State House this week, and one of our practices was this law that was recently just passed. You may know this, that you're allowed to do, beer and wine sellers are allowed to have you taste their products at farmers markets.
Yeah.
And now liquor has been added to that. So
distillers.
distillers.
Oh, wow.
That's
It's
a
gonna
half
make
ounce.
It's gonna make farmers
Well,
market a whole new.
So they would have to probably provide us proof that they have that license, that would be our requirement, and for them to be part of the farmer's market.
It's the manufacturer has to provide that
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah, whoever's
Yes.
doing that, yeah.
Yeah.
Like if it was Shackett's, he would have to
Yeah.
provide something that says he can do that offsite,
Offsite.
but other than that, yeah, they can.
It's a half ounce of liquor, 2 ounces of wine, 4 ounces of beer,
At a time?
2 ounces of wine
Yeah.
per label, it said.
Oh.
So, half
You
ounce.
bring in
liquor.
30
So-
brands, yes.
Well, there was some, it's a done deal, as part of the practice,
Yeah.
there was some conversation about who's watching this.
Well, the other thing on the farmer's market, which I think is awesome, the farmer's market, that's a great location.
Yeah.
But is it really the town's responsibility to put money into making it ready for a farmer's market?
Yeah, I get that, but I think if we're gonna allow something there, it should be a minimum, safety and all that other stuff. Yeah, which is why we addressed
Do
the
they
trainers.
rent it or you just let them use it?
They don't, the Lions
there was a
Club, so
farm.
the Lions Club is
Yeah, it
the,
would be
I
nice.
really wish there was a farmer.
I know, the Lions Club is the
Just be called
market.
Oh, that's fine.
So the Lions Club does a blanket permit for certain events throughout the town that they sponsor, and
Yeah.
Farmers Market is one that they sponsor, and, under their umbrella, and we don't charge them usually, so.
So apparently the conversation about the alcohols was that the starting of your alcohol all comes from something that's grown in the ground.
Right.
Therefore, it's an agricultural product.
Oh, wow.
And there it could be at a farmer's market.
Hops,
Who knew?
Who knew?
okay.
Potatoes.
Other,
Yeah.
Potatoes, what is it?
Grain.
Mezcal from Mexico.
No, it has to be New Hampshire manufactured.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can be killed.
No,
Crazy
no.
cat winery.
The
Yeah.
flood insurance map, I just put that on here so you're aware that there's an appeal period if you have a chance to take a look at it. We apparently are supposed to collect those appeals and provide feedback on whether they should be to FEMA about our opinion on the appeal. We'll see, so we've given everybody a deadline of January 18th because we have to have it back into FEMA.
Were there
knowing-
any major changes?
It is extended in some areas quite a bit.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at all of the firms, there's quite a few in there, because they did all of the Penny overlay and some of the Newfound watershed as well.
Yeah.
They went through that in Lincoln and the mapping, and the map was done, and they did this appeal thing. And with all the uproar over remapping and the contractors that were gonna come out of the woods, not a single comment came in during the appeal period, not a one. And it put into
Okay.
effect. Yeah. So I don't know.
And the last one is just my comment, I think to get us all on the same page, have a meeting before we do
Okay.
anything further with them.
Yep, I agree 100%.
I have nothing else on the TA report, I think I covered it all, tried to do it as quick as possible.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Thanks, John.
Okay. Selectmen items? Les?
I don't have anything. The tree lighting was great, and kudos to the group that worked on it, and the tree was very nice.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
I just have to add, I reached out to a certain individual, no response. I will compose and get that letter out tomorrow, and your public hearing will be on the 15th. I didn't get a response, so even after the phone call.
We have
A
an
really good conversation on the phone call, unless you wanna reach out to him.
I will why don't you let me do that? He called me today, but John Zells and I were in the truck together on speaker, so
Yeah.
maybe that's what he was calling about.
But we do have an email that I suggested Christina that we run by Tank, whichever attorney, that I would interpret
As a resignation, yeah.
But-
It doesn't come out, it says that that's what, it implies that's what's
Yeah.
gonna happen, but it's not an actual official.
So let's let Carol touch base.
Okay.
We'll go from there.
I'll talk to Steve.
Anita?
I'm good.
Carol?
No.
No? I'm trying to think. I thought I had something, but I forgot my phone at home, so I can't come in. So I will take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Seconded by Anita. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Non-negotiable, non-discussable.
So you are adjourned technically, but Carol, you forgot you did want something from the budget committee. You wanted the board, which we can talk about the next meeting, to consider, for every warrant article, how much it's going to, estimated how much it's gonna affect the
The
tax
tax
rate.
rate, yeah. We used to do that.
I was
Yeah.
thinking about,
It's always in a
At the be-
vacuum and it's.
yeah, at the beginning of town meeting, you hand everybody a sheet that says, of all the things you're gonna vote on, this is what it approximately would do to your tax rate, and then they can put it in their mind about, what's my priority? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, we used to have it on the screen. It would say, when we're discussing it.
Yeah.
It would say approximate cost, you know.
Which, we can do that, but that's not gonna, I mean, right are your values
You
of
can put it right in the
500.
articles and,
right?
yeah, and I mean, I was amazed at how many, the question just dropped right off. Was, because some people just don't know how to figure it, you know, and they're nervous.
Right.
Well, if you don't
And-
have a finance person up front that's gonna give you that right off the top of their head,
Yeah, that'd be nice.
you're in trouble.
So, well, and you can give yourself a rough estimate, if you take the value of your town, it's 560,000.
Right.
Every 560,000 that you add
Is a dollar.
is a dollar. Every 56,000 you add is 10 cents. So if
In
you,
a
And
vacuum,
that's
not
a-
taking into consideration
Right.
revenues,
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's the same
and
thing.
money applied.